Hope everybody's doing all right today. Obviously excited to get going and play in the Swamp this Saturday. It's going to be great to be home, back to be in our home environment, playing in the Swamp. There's no environment like it. And can't wait to see. I think one thing, I think you saw at certain deals. I think even though there's a limited capacity at stadiums right now, fans can make a huge difference. So we need we need the Gator fans to maximize. I don't think we can pack the Swamp, but certainly maximize what we can do in the Swamp on Saturday. I know there's still tickets available for the game, which is something that's a little bit different, and unique. I think there's a lot of people I've talked to out there like, oh, Coach, it's just a shame. We're dying to come to games and we can't get tickets this year or what the situation is. So there's still tickets available. So all the Gator Nation out there, if you want to come to the game, please contact, get in touch with ticket officers. There's still tickets available for Saturday's game. And as I said last week, I think that's such a huge deal. To be in the Swamp on a Saturday in I guess it'll be October now. But to be in the Swamp on a Saturday in October feels normal, and I know life hasn't always felt normal the past 6 months. So, come join us in the Swamp this Saturday. Should be great for the first home game. What do you guys got? What do you want to know about? No, I think there's a lot of teachable moments. I think we'll be a lot better defensively come Saturday. I think there's a lot you can see in what happened in that game and why we had some of our breakdowns. One, I don't want to take anything away from Ole Miss. I think, obviously when we were down some players in game one, playing an extremely up-tempo offense, and they do a really good job of getting their playmakers the ball. They got a couple guys that can do stuff with it, and they do a good job of scheming those guys to make sure they get the ball. But I expect a much better defense. I think normally, early in the season, everyone's like, okay, the defenses are great and the offenses are going to take a little time to catch up. I think when you eliminate spring ball, okay, when you eliminate the amount of tackling that you've done in this time, you expand this long training camp with the limitations that we had in it. I think it's an advantage really for the offense early. So I think that's what you're seeing. So I expect us to make a pretty big jump from week 1 to week 2 defensively with, really with tackling, with the effort, with running to the football, with communication and making sure we're fitting everything properly. I think all of those things, now that we're kind of in a game mode, I expect us to be much better defensively this week. Well, I think it certainly has something to do with it. You know what I mean? I think there's great explosive players, but I certainly think that probably does have something to do with that opportunity. The guys could still throw and catch, right? They go out, throw and catch on their own. They could do different things like that. We're able to have a ball at a walkthrough, so you can actually, you could, even though you're walking through, you can just throw it and catch it to somebody, and you get a little feel for the pass game that way. With the walkthroughs that we had, what you missed was the defense, fitting, tackling, those things. So I think that will. I think it'll change as the season goes on. Yeah, it was, I don't know, we created around it. We had it in there, but we know he's a mismatch out there on the field. So, you kind of, as you go pull different things and you're looking at your players, what do you expect to do well? We looked at the tight end position, and we know we have some really good tight ends, not just him, but the other ones that we feel comfortable with in the offense. And so, it's a position when you have those guys that we want to try, that we think are big advantageous matchups for us. we're going to try to use the part of the offense that's going to, highlight them maybe more than other years. And, that's something we certainly spend a lot of time with in the offseason is making sure, that we have enough ways that he's going to get the ball in his hands during the course of the game, trying to create matchup problems for the defense.
And then secondly, did you drink your bottle of wine yet?
No, Coach, right? Huh? Listen. It was right. I mean, Cassie's got a picture of it right there. You can see it. I see it in her background drop. It is actually a bottle, and it is wine. So, Coach. I mean, he didn't miss a beat. He was in here this morning. First time I saw him, he had a bottle of wine for me right there. I called him out, I guess, and he brought it. So. Hey, I mean, that's one thing about having Coach Spurrier. I love having Coach Spurrier around because it's, it's one, obviously, to have a football person like that around the building and around all the time but, I mean, I grew up a huge fan of him and very rarely is he not walk in the room and put a smile on everybody's face in our office, so.
So Dan, Kyle's handled everything thrown in his way, obviously, in the last couple of years. And he threw 6 touchdowns. People are talking Heisman and all this. How do you make sure he keeps pushing? Obviously, he's going to, but keep building off that. How do you get better than 6 touchdowns?
Well, there's a lot of things he can get better at. We went through on the film. I don't know if he'd. If he likes the attention and his name being on the ticker of ESPN and he likes that stuff, then keep doing what he's doing. If he doesn't, go out, throw 3 picks. They won't talk about him anymore. So, I don't know. That's kind of my take on it. I think, he's a guy that's worked really hard to put himself in this position. He's been on the big stage. It's not too big for him. And I think he understands and respects the position he's in and doesn't take it for granted. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing. I don't think he's going to look and say, hey, I don't know, maybe I don't know they'll have 6 touchdown passes every week. That'd be great if he does. And but I think most importantly is he's doing his job managing the game, making good decisions, putting us in the right plays, getting the ball out of his hands faster and being accurate. That's the stuff that he worries about. Just like before, he never came in and worried about being the starter. He wanted to be the starter, but he wasn't worried about it. He was worried about improving and getting better. And so now that he's the starter, I think I expect more of the same from him, of just worried about improving and getting better.
Based on my research, I might have missed it, a more obscure guy. You've never had anyone throw for 6 touchdowns despite all your success with quarterbacks, I don't think. Is that true?
It sounds about right. That's because Brian Johnson, once you make him the coordinator right there, we start, as he said, if you let me call my own plays when I was playing for you, I would have had 6 touchdowns all the time. I'd throw it every play. So I think that helps a lot. I'm probably a little bit more run heavy and he's a little more pass heavy. So we end up throwing the ball a little bit more.
Well, what does that say? Given your track record, that here's a guy in his 11th start throws 6 touchdowns.
I think it's great. I think a lot of the credit goes to him with the decisions he made and where he went with the ball, how fast he made those decisions, and to get it and how to get it to the right player. I think he knows we have a lot of confidence in him throwing the ball, and it does say a lot about him. I've had some pretty good quarterbacks through the years, so that's a pretty unique deal. I would bet I don't think I've had anybody throw for 6. I think Timmy had 7 against this, right? But he didn't throw for all 7. I think he accounted for 7 in one game. But
you had a bunch of 5s, Dak and Alex, but no 6s.
All right.
Yeah, man.
If he would have thrown that ball a little quicker to Trent Whitmore, he would have had 7.
Not Baker.
Hey, Dan, kind of following up on what Mark was asking about tight ends, how does your time as a college tight end influence how you view and see the position?
Well, I'm biased to those guys, right? I mean, I was a quarterback and a tight end really in my football career. So, then you wonder why our quarterback threw 6 touchdowns and 4 of them to our tight end. I'm just biased to those guys, I guess, is what it must be. But no, I think in football, I think you look at one of the things we've always tried to do is try to create advantageous matchups, right? And, I mean, you just go through the years of different guys I've had, and, it used to be a big zone read team, and then all of a sudden you have a Chris Rainey and a Jeff Demps with a Tebow, and you just run the reverse zone read. Then those guys run outside, Tebow pounds away inside. You have a Percy Harvin. How are you getting him in space, right, to go make plays? You have a Dak Prescott. Are you building your offense around what he does well and change from one year to the next, and not kind of box yourself in? So to me, I think it's really about having enough offensive system that can highlight players, right? I mean, we've had a bunch of years, we've had 1,000-yard rushers, but how do you build your offense around being able to highlight players and then pick and choose and make sure you're putting them in a position to do that and play to their strengths? And that's what we've always tried to do.
Hey, Dan. I played a lot of young guys on defense. I was wondering how they did and how much will those reps help them moving forward for you guys?
Well, it's a lot. We had a lot of guys play defense and special teams. Obviously, it's a long season. There's a chance this could be a season like no other. You know what I mean? I don't know who's going to be available from week to week. And so, when you look at those things, when there's a possibility of that happen, it's probably more than next man up mentality as a regular year would be. So it's great to get guys reps, to get them out there, to get them that experience on the field. And, talk to the guys. You never know how many reps you're going to get, and reps are valuable, but you better make sure that you're ready for when your number's called, that you've prepared the right way to be ready to go make plays during the course of the game. So it was great to get guys reps, get guys out on the field, and because you don't know how much we're going to need them as the year goes on.
Thanks, Sam.
Oh, you're still muted there, Gene. You're muted. There you go.
I know it's just a one-game sample size with Ole Miss, and a lot of people are going to make a lot of snap judgments on this offense and Kyle and what have you. But do you see elements of this offense being able to be explosive on a consistent basis? It didn't really happen for Coach Spurrier until his fifth, sixth, seventh years at Florida. What do you see from this? And is it fair to call this an explosive offense just yet?
Well, we were on Saturday. We'll see how we do this Saturday. I don't know about it. I want to just see us execute and get better from week to week. And do we have components? Yes, because we have explosive players in the offense. We have guys that are explosive players. So when you have guys that can make big plays happen, it gives you opportunity to have a much more explosive offense. So I think it certainly has the potential to be from week to week. But there's, like I said, I think defenses, unlike normal years where kind of the offenses pick up as the year goes on, I think it's going to go the opposite way, and I think defenses will start catching up quicker. So I think that you'll see the bigger stats earlier in the year offensively rather than late this year, more than in normal years.
As a follow-up, how much can we also attribute this to a more experienced offensive line, and that also being a part of the equation?
Well, I think it helps. I think there are certain things that help. One, we have a little bit of a veteran offensive line. Two, we played an SEC road game where even though there was good people in the crowd, there was this. Usually, when you're playing on the road in the league, it's deafening. You can't hear a thing. You saw that in the NFL. I don't know. I think I was leaving the office last night and I saw Aaron Rodgers. I had the TV on in the background, like Aaron Rodgers in New Orleans using snap count to get them to jump off sides. They've never used, I'm sure no one's ever used snap count in New Orleans, the visiting team, before. So there's certain offensive advantages to those things that you have just because of circumstances this year. And one of them, obviously having a veteran quarterback helps. A veteran offensive line certainly helps. As you have to make in-game adjustments, and then just game mechanics. It's a little bit easier this year with not having to deal with massive crowds on the road.
Thank you.
That's why every Gator matters this weekend, to make it as loud as we possibly can for South Carolina.
Maybe there'll be free bottles of Sutter Home. Said that he was like waiting for you when you got here, and that he immediately came in. How often is Steve around? I know he has an office there, but is he just pop in?
Oh, he wasn't waiting for us. He came in. I think he comes in, gets his workout, checks on different things. But when he came down, he has his office. But I saw him walking by, so I made, when he it was probably, I don't know, right before we tweeted, got the picture, and then tweeted it out. So, but he'll come by. He'll come by, make some, have some thoughts on different things and football thoughts for us. And I just love it. I mean, it's always good that, you have somebody there. Since I've been here, he's a guy that comes in and says, is not judgmental. I think as everybody knows, he's not afraid to give you advice on different things or give you his mind or speak his mind or give you thoughts, but always does so in a positive, constructive, helping way as a coach. So I think it is great to have somebody like that around that just sticks his head in every once in a while to give his thoughts on what's going on.
Has there been anything that you can remember on top of your head over the past 2 years that he's suggested that you've put in?
Oh yeah, he'll drop some plays for us now. He's got a bunch of plays. So what's that?
Has there been a play that you
Yeah, we called one of them, but he'd come in. Usually it's not always as much during the season, sometimes off season. He'll review stuff and said, "Hey, we've run this before, we've run that before." Heck, we put the one of them in last year. We ran a bunch of times. It's called Spurrier. So because he gave it to us, so we called it Spurrier and put it in. I can't give you away our play call names, but it was a pass play, not a running play. I'm sure you guessed that part of it. So.
Ventrell Miller was named Defensive Player of the Week this week in the SEC. What can you kind of just say about his performance? And on a day when the back end was kind of struggling, but what was he able to do tonight?
Well, I think he had a great deal of tackles. I think he plays so hard. He's the great leader of the defense. I think last year, he's really a first-time starter. This year, I think he understands that he's expected to be the leader of the defense, and he does that every single day. I think it's a great learning for all of our players out there. You watch him practice, and you watch how he prepares, how hard he practices, how he prepares to be in the right position. Just his attention to detail in everything he does at practice, and then you see that translate over to the game. So, that's not just that he's a vocal leader and going to talk up and get guys going, but he's also going to back it up with his actions. And you know what? You watch how he practices, how he performs every day on the field. It translates to seeing a guy being able to go out and have a huge game like he did on Saturday.
And real quick, last thing for me. You mentioned that the defenses will obviously get better because of how weird the offseason was. So do you think that Kyle's performance and the offense as a whole will it even out some as the defenses get better, or is that sort of indicative of what they were able to do this offseason?
Well, I think it's a little bit of having veteran players, they're still able to throw and catch. So you're a little bit ahead, but I hope we certainly continue to improve offensively. We didn't come out to peak in week one. I expect the offense to get better. I just think the curve is going to be quicker for the defense as the season goes on and we start playing more football.
Nick. Hey, Coach. You guys really didn't get penalized much on Saturday. Obviously, one big one early on with Sean Davis, but just looking at the past of Florida and how much the Gators have been penalized. Last in the league, 3 out of the last 10, or in the last 10 years, 3 times they're dead last in the league. What emphasis do you put on just not having penalties and how can penalties kind of kill a game or a drive?
Well, they kill or extend drives. You know what I mean? And we put a lot on it, right? One of our one big thing, was that going into game one, it was a lot of the focus, not as much on Ole Miss, on ourselves and handle game mechanics offensively. Could we come out there, execute, and handle being back on game day Saturday? And obviously, you look at the Sean penalty was big early, but we really didn't have many penalties the whole game, like you said. So I think that was something that we attributed to. We talked a lot about going into game one. We hadn't watched their offense or defense play. They had a whole new coaching staff. So, a lot of our focus and attention had to be on ourselves and could we execute, could we handle that transition into game week? And offensively we did with not many penalties, and defensively with the exception of the targeting, which is a tough call. I mean, guys running over the middle. I think Sean tried to throw the shoulder in there, and guys are lower and catching the ball. And, we talk about it all the time, and it's kind of a bang-bang play, and it's tough that happened. I don't think there was intent there at all in any way, shape, or form. So it's just one of those things that try to coach and try to get out of the game and keep the game as safe as possible. So even with that one overall, I think we were pretty clean on the day penalty wise.
How do you guys kind of work on that in the off season? Is that something also when you talked about that simulated game? Is that something just procedural wise you work on?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it helps having some older players, but it's something we really talked about of paying attention to going into the week. Hey, we might not have as much research on this team as we have on other teams, so let's really focus on our execution of doing everything perfectly going into the game.
Hey Dan, Brent Hagee, he won SEC Offensive Player of the Week in his first game back at center in a while. What do you see from him as well as the rest of the offensive line?
Well, I think he played really well. I thought the offensive line as a whole played really well, and I think a lot of times that ends up almost being a team award. I know it goes to the individual, and I give Brett a lot of credit. I mean, obviously very well deserving. Had a great game, having to go in and jump in at center. He's a guy who was going to play either center or guard for us to be able to do both. Had to be forced to play at center. And came in and did a great job of it. And so obviously very deserving of that. I think, you look, there weren't a lot of mistakes up front as the game went on. I think we made some good adjustments to what they were doing to run the ball even more efficiently than we did early in the game. And a lot of that goes on the center. But overall, I thought the line as a whole played well, and he is the center of that line, is kind of that focal point. He's the apex of the line. So, I'm glad he was able to get the recognition for that. No, it was great. I think, obviously not missing the offseason hurts Stu a little bit, and I expect him to continue to get better. And I saw a couple ups and downs, the one thing I think he knows of having played for me before is I have pretty high standards and expectations, so that's not going to shock him. But overall, he graded the champion. I thought he played pretty well. Always, but I think everybody saw that. I think, Malik last year still was, I don't want to say wasn't 100%, but I just in his total performance wasn't. But, that was the guy that I saw. You saw both running and catching the ball on Saturday. And, I think a lot of times you look at the rushing or the running back stats, and, if you combine our three running backs, if we had just, to just play one, really pretty good day for the backs. If that was one back. But, I like to roll those guys through some, keeps them fresh. As I say, this is going to be a unique year for us, and to get guys experience. And those guys play a bunch on special teams as well. And, to create depth within the team, it was good to get all those guys in the game. And I was pleased with how Malik played, and I thought Pierce ran the ball hard. It was great to get Naquan some real game reps out there, and did a really nice job catching the ball out of the backfield. Yeah, that's what it is. I think that's what we weren't seeing last year. Some is that explosiveness and that make you miss and foot in the ground and change of direction. And I think you're seeing that now again.
Hey Dan, going back to Coach Spurrier, I don't know if you saw what he told Dooley, but he said that you won an SEC championship with the ball on the line.
I love it. He said it to me again this morning. I love it. So as soon as I saw it, I was laughing. It was awesome.
And then going back to Brian, obviously his debut as the OC, he sets
Well, I obviously did a really good job, right? I mean, I was the OC here, and we never had that many yards or touchdown passes, so I guess he did better than I did. So.
Do you remember your first game as OC against Wyoming?
Was it Wyoming? Yeah.
I mean, officially, I'm sure you called plays at Utah, but when you came here, you were officially OC.
Yeah.
That was Chad
I know.
Jackson had a big game.
I know we won. No, it was.
You didn't hang 50 points, though.
Yeah. Wyoming was pretty tough, though.
Yeah, and that was y'all's first game.
That was our first game. We were learning a lot about it. We were learning a lot about ourselves back then. So, learning about how to run the offense and how to adjust it and what we were doing. And, we're coming off a year at Utah, just all new players. Your first, when you don't know. I do remember this. I remember, you knew your team at Utah kind of inside and out. You came here, you got into games. And during that course of the year, we tweaked some different things within our offenses. We got to kind of more familiar with everybody.
And then lastly, just thoughts on South Carolina specifically defensively. How do you think they're going to try and take away kids?
Well, I mean, they have some they have some length out there. They have some long corners and some big safeties. So they're going to have probably some athletes that they can match up with them. They're big man. They like to play a lot of man coverage. So you're going to get those one-on-one matchups, and it's just about trying to create the best matchup we can. I think they got a very talented front. They have some veteran guys that are starters, and then some really, bunch of 5-star guys that they've recruited over the last couple of years. So. A very, very talented front as well. So, it'd be a big challenge. I mean, every time this game, each of the last 2 years has kind of come right down to the end, and so we got to be ready to go play for 4 quarters.
Thanks, Dan.
Buddy and close with gold.
Hi, Dan. I'm kind of stuck on whether I should vote for Pitts as the Mackey or the Litnick. Can you explain the high
That's good. I thought you were going to get into the debate tomorrow night or something like that, and when you started talking about voting, but I won't put the pressure on you there.
Anyway, just the hybrid position. It seems to be working extremely well. I know this is rudimentary question, but why is Pitts so hard to cover? Obviously, matchup. What strengths does he bring to the game?
Well, I think when you look that he's a tight end, but if you go look at that, it is about the mismatches. I mean, he's got the size. So, when a DBs are on him, a lot of times you see he can go over the top of you and go over the top of DBs. He can run away from backers. He's got tremendous athletic ability to go catch the ball. And from, as I think everybody saw, I mean, he's really developed much better as a blocker this offseason. So, when you combine those things defensively, who do you put on him? You know what I mean? It's like, we talked, he's kind of a unicorn, right? I mean, so unless you have a unicorn on defense to match the unicorn on offense, right? I mean, you got to have a guy that can kind of, that there's not a lot of them out there. They're kind of very, very rare to ever see one that, do you have a 6'4", 240-pound linebacker that can run with him? Or do you have a 6'3.5", 220 safety that's physical as he is at the point of attack? And so that's really what makes him a mismatch. But I mean, you see it. It's not anything that's new. I mean, you're watching Kelsey and you're watching Kittle and you're watching Gronkowski. You're watching all these guys do this. All throughout the NFL. I mean, it goes goes back to, whether it's. Or some of the other guys. I mean, there's a bunch of them that have been doing it for years in the NFL, that they're just mismatch problems. And I think, one of the things that coaches are doing are just trying to create those matchups. And you know what? If I can put him in space and make the matchup better than putting him in tight, well, I'm going to put him in space to create that a little bit more room for him to work and make the matchup even better and more in our advantage.
One thing was noticeable is the way that both Trask and Pitts were able to adjust in mid-flight, so to speak. And just like touchdown catch once they dove the ball down to his left. Trask did a good bit of scrambling, more than usual, stepping out, whatever you want to call it. They seem to be really comfortable under step more
Well, I think one thing Kyle does a good job. He's going to put the ball where the defense isn't. Whether he's got to go over the top or whether he's got to put it on the back shoulder. Also, his just experience, the sliding in the pocket, the scrambling, the moving. And then you look at the receivers. When we do that, the ability for them to kind of find the windows. As he's sliding to his right, hey, I might break off my route and slide to the right with him and get in a window for him to throw. And I think that comes from experience, not just from those two, but all our guys that have played a bunch of football.
Just one quick one. The pressure of a 53-man roster down at the last second, who's in, who's out, that's got to be a little tougher than usual. And I know that there seem to be some surprises. How hard is it to put that roster together in the last one?
Well, what's tricky is it can be changing. You know what I mean? So you kind of have a Monday roster. Then you got kind of a Thursday roster that you expect to bring into the game, and then you kind of have a Friday roster. If you got to go to the bullpen. And you're trying to manage it throughout the week and balance to make sure, however it plays out, that we're ready to go play a game on Saturday. And so a lot that goes into it. Our roster was decided on Friday morning. Really actually Thursday night at about 10 o'clock last week. We got somewhat set on the roster. But there's still changes all the way into Saturday. So for us that we had to make. So just the way it is. It's just a different year. Unlike unfortunately, I don't have free agency to get on the phone real quick and get somebody in here. So, we're managing with what we have and trying to balance it as best we can.
And following up on that, Todd made a comment that even the scout team is a little bit different this year and that they have to kind of learn the game. What does that look like?
Well, I think, one of the things is that you have guys that probably, are just taking reps on the offense or defense, having to go down and play scout team because your numbers are down, right? And so those guys that maybe, are limited rep guys on offense or defense are now on the scout team, and they got to get those reps either in walkthrough or in film session to get ready to play. So that is a little bit different for us this year too. And you know what? For us to have a successful year, it's going to take a lot of unselfish guys on this team. A lot of guys buying into doing, hey, I'm here to do whatever it takes to help the team win. And as long as we keep that attitude, we'll have a chance to be successful. If selfishness starts to creep in and guys are worried about themselves, it's going to be harder to manage because, the guys are like, hey, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do what it takes for the team to win. We'll have a lot of problems.
And then real quickly, what are the main threats South Carolina poses offensively?
Well, they got some really good players. It's a unique deal. The quarterback, has come in and he's a veteran within this system. Even though it was his first start for them last week, he's played within the system. I think so. He knows the system they're running, decision making. They do. They have a couple good backs. They get the ball to. They got some wideouts. They always do a good job of having some wideouts and creating matchup issues. With those wideouts to try to take advantage of the guys and try to get their similar thing to what we do is try to get their talented guys in the best advantageous one-on-one matchup that they can. And so even though it is, you look at their quarterback position, I think is the big one, that they have a guy that's a veteran in the system and the guy on the bench that started for him last year. So they have some experience there to come out and make plays and be comfortable within what they're doing. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good week.